In this edition of the Red and Blue Political Roundup, President Trump says former White House advisor Omarosa Manigault-Newman is, quote, wacky and a lowlife. Mr. Trump made the comments on Twitter after Omarosa released two secret recordings of White House conversations. One is a conversation with President Trump. The other is a conversation with Chief of Staff John Kelly, which she says was recorded in the White House Situation Room. Those recordings have raised some security concerns. They come as Omarosa is promoting her new book, Unhinged, which is published by a division of CBS. Joining me now from Washington is Huffington Post White House correspondent SV Dáte. SV, thanks for joining us. What's been the reaction to the president's response to Omarosa's story?
Well, the response, I guess, depends on whether you like President Trump or if you don't. I mean, his fans think this is outrageous that someone is secretly recording the president and secretly recording people in the White House, and those who think that the president's has trouble being a president, I think, well, this is further proof. This is exactly what we're talking about. Who, in fact, hired Omarosa? It was the President of the United States, based on his working with her on a reality TV show. So this is kind of a big deal right now. How much this affects things, I don't really know. It keeps the pot boiling, I guess, as we approach the midterms.
Well, Omarosa says that she recorded these conversations in the White House Situation Room. How much of a flag is that raising on the issue of national security? And do we even know what some potential consequences could be that she might face?
If they wanted to, I suppose, they could try to go after her legally for bringing in a recording device into what's known as a SCIF. It's a place that's not supposed to have recording devices or listening devices or any other electronics, for that matter. Whether they'll do that, I don't know. It's not like she was in a National Security Council meeting when this happened. She was meeting with John Kelly to be fired. Why he chose there as opposed to somewhere, I don't really know. Perhaps he probably won't do that again. But does she present by herself a national security threat? Probably not. But if other people are doing this and their procedure is so lax as no one's keeping track of who's bringing what into the Situation Room, well, that raises a few flags, I guess.
Yeah, I'd imagine that they, at the very least, be reviewing their protocols for people entering the Situation Room from this point forward. Well, the FBI announced Monday that it had fired Agent Peter Strzok. Now, the president has often used Strzok to back up his claims that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation is biased. What impact, if any, do you think Strzok's firing from the FBI will have on Mueller's probe?
On the Mueller's investigation, probably none at all. I mean, he's not been involved in it since pretty much when Mueller took over back like spring of last year. So I don't think it's going to have any real impact. It does have some emotional feel-good moment, I suppose, for the president's supporters, particularly in the evening hours of Fox News, where they've made this kind of their rallying cry, the bad FBI agents and the corrupt this, and et cetera, et cetera. Now they can celebrate that he's gone. And, he may have a lawsuit against the FBI. I don't know. He did have these texts that he's not supposed to do on FBI phones, so there is that. But again, this is something that I don't think will have much actual consequence.
Well, you have a new article on the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and his account of conversations Mr. Trump had with former FBI Director James Comey about former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. What more can you tell us about that?
Right. Well, this is interesting because the story seems to have evolved from what it was over the summer when, well, I guess we're still in the summer, but earlier in the summer when Mayor Giuliani was talking about, hey, he had every right to fire the FBI director because, after all, he's the chief executive and he works for him, and what's the big deal? And really what he said was that, can you give the guy a break, basically, when they're talking about Flynn. And now yesterday, it's like, well, there was never that conversation at all. Something has happened, because it was not just in that ABC interview back in July 8th. It was also a Fox News interview on July 30th, I believe, that he went into even greater detail about this. And now yesterday, it's like, well, there was no conversation. All right, what's happening here? possibly they're finding out that the special counsel's office is taking great interest in what Comey has said happened in that February 14th meeting. So perhaps they're adjusting the story now to deny it entirely and then just make it his word, the president's words, against James Comey's. How that helps, I'm not sure. The president is known for saying like false things pretty much every day, and I don't know that can really damage Jim Comey in that manner. So, you know, we'll see. But this is a very interesting shift that we've seen from the president's lawyer.
Yeah. During a visit to Fort Drum Monday, President Trump signed a $716 billion defense spending bill. Now, the bill is named after Senator John McCain, but the president did not mention Senator McCain during the bill's signing. Has there been any reaction to that, SV?
Yeah, there have been some news stories about this, and it looked bad for him, I guess, for those people who think Senator McCain is an honorable man and he served his country well, and he was in a prison camp in North Vietnam for like more than 5 years. So, yeah, people who empathize with Senator McCain, who's now facing terminal cancer, were probably offended quite a bit. That did not stop the president, because in his next event, which was a fundraiser in Utica, New York, he insulted John McCain for not having voted with him on the Affordable Care Act repeal attempt. He didn't name him personally, but again, we knew what he was talking about. The guy who put his thumbs down and killed his thing, why would he do that? He said it many times before. He mainly likes to insult John McCain. That's been clear from the very first time his name came up in the campaign back in the summer of 2015.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we continue to hear the president talk about on the campaign trail as well.
Right.
SV Dáte, thanks very much, SV, for your time. Really appreciate it.